everybody, Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday Eve. It's Star Wars Day Eve, in fact. We've got Star Wars Day tomorrow, so as we're not podcasting tomorrow, we'll probably be doing some Star Wars related stuff tonight. So with me on this good eve, we have Peter Ray Allison.
Hey, how you doing?
Laura Benson.
What's up?
Mark Canty.
He remembered me!
I did remember you. Josh Varney.
Podcasting we are.
And Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Good evening, true believers.
What up? Okay, so it's another Sunday night. We've got another podcast on the go. First up, Laura, we haven't spoken to you in a while. How's things?
Yeah, that was on purpose, buddy.
It's good to have some female representation on our podcast.
Cool. I'll just be your token minority, that's alright. Yeah, no, it has been, God, probably even maybe a year.
The Australians say yeah, nah, so it's yeah, nah, yeah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, we're an interesting breed. Interestingly enough, the Australian accent was derived from drunk British people being so fucking sloshed that's why we tend to speak a little slower, a little bit more slurred. So that's a linguistic fun fact for you.
Right, okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, no, nothing's happened really. I moved house. I got another cat. That's pretty exciting. He's an asshole. It's great.
Cats.
Yeah, my cat
But
decided...
I mean, he's a cat, so like I knew what I was getting into here.
Yeah, my cat decided to take a shit upstairs. He's got this thing now where, because the dog, who can be a bit of an asshole sometimes, sleeps at the bottom of the stairs and chases the cat can't get downstairs to its litter box, so it sits upstairs and yowls, and it either wants food or it wants to have a shit. And this morning, I was shattered, and I was just like, he just wants food, can't be arsed. But no, he didn't. He wanted to have a shit, and took a big dump upstairs to show me, make a point. It's like, well, there you go. That's what you get.
My cat brand of assholeness is actually more funny in that it less like gross. He likes playing fetch, and I'm a lazy piece of shit, so I thought instead of throwing stuff, I would just get my Nerf gun out. Anyway, long story short, the cat is now obsessed with Nerf darts. He cries if he doesn't have one in his mouth, hanging out his mouth like a little fucking cigar, 24/7. He sleeps with them in his mouth. He walks around. He had an asthma attack through one. It sounded like a high-pitched Darth Vader. And you're just like, what? He'll be getting upset and crying, and you bring him a Nerf dart, and he starts purring, and he's happy again. It's his emotional support Nerf dart. And if, like most cats, you want them to get them to come to you, you clink a bowl or something, food. With Rowan, you cock the Nerf gun.
Rowan, that's such an Australian name right there.
Well,
Rowan.
my other cat's Willow, so I was kind of going for a bit of a theme, kind of like a Viking tree theme.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's Rowan, the Nerf dart obsessed cat.
Just very quickly, Matt, you were talking about your cat. What's your cat's name?
Jeffrey.
Good.
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Because I was going to say, why didn't you not call it? Because the best opportunity. Why didn't you call it Cat Geary?
I didn't think it because I was just looking for a sort of. I like human.
Jeffrey.
I like sort of human names for animals and stuff. My
other baby book.
He's just Jeffrey. That's it. It's just like he's just a Jeffrey. He's just
on the university application.
Yeah, Jeffrey. All right, Jeffs. What's up? And he just sort of lies around. So yeah, I'm Jeffrey. What up? How's things? And sort of just like yep. Every night he comes in and he sticks himself between me and my girlfriend, and he's just like right, I'm there, and that's how it's going to be.
It's like that yeah. I'm still here, mate. I'm still here. Keep away, social distancing.
Well, because Rowan, I adopted him. He was sick when I first adopted him, and so he had to go into his own quarantine for about a month. And then all that ended, and then we went into quarantine. Have you seen those articles floating around that's like, spend some time away from your pets because otherwise they're going to get emotionally dependent on you? Oh yeah, that's fucked.
I don't need to worry about that. Boromir is sort of very good at sort of just keeping himself to himself. He'll spend all of his time outside. He's not a needy dog. He likes to know that you're there. You know, like Boz will, you know, he'll go off and he'll do his own thing, but he has to know that you haven't abandoned him. So what he'll do is he'll scratch at the door, and you'll go to the door, go, what? And he'll be like, right, you're still there. And then he'll bugger off. And then 5 minutes later, he'll go, have they left me? And he'll come back to the door, and he'll be like, oi, are you there? And you'll come to the door going, what? It's like, just checking. All right, fucking hell. And then
3 in the morning, Rowan will bitch slap me across the face. I'm not actually joking. It's a proper pimp slap. And as I come awake, like, what? He will drop the dart on me because he wants me to throw it. And the first few times he did that, I didn't cotton on to that. I just felt the dart and went, fuck off, and threw it. And he went, excellent. She knows how this goes. So I get woken up by a tiny paw going, wake the fuck up. Hey, I got my dart. It's time to play. And if you don't, I will hit you again.
That's abuse.
It could be worse. We adopted 2 because our cat passed away last July. We had to have him put down. And we adopted a brother and a sister. They kind of adopted us, but we took them home. And they're a little bit needy as well. This whole dependency thing that you were talking about, Laura, they've got that rather badly. The problem is that they like to groom us to show that they love us. Unfortunately, the problem is that when you get woken up by a cat licking your eyelid in the morning, that can be a little bit much.
Willow, when she was younger, because she's like my sumo cat, she's very strong. She, you know how they give you like little kisses? Like they bop their head against you? She bopped her head against my nose so hard she broke it. I was asleep. She head butted me in my sleep and broke my nose. I woke up, there was blood everywhere, and she was just like, I love you. And I'm like, you fucking what?
It's like, mum, mummy, mama, hi.
Had to train her to give me kisses on my chin where I can take the blows. But
I got an ear piercing off of the girl. So they're called Rex and Tali. I got away with naming them, so I got away with Mass Effect in there. But they like to nip when they're licking, because obviously they're just part of the way they play. And she decided that she wanted to nip my ear, except she didn't let go. So she's the lighter of the two. She only weighs about sort of like 4.5 kilos, hanging off your ear by 4 teeth. Yeah, that's not an experience I recommend.
Welcome to Geek Pride, everyone. We all have cats.
I don't.
Do you have
you know what?
I've got 4 hens. I've got 4 hens.
Wow. That's
4 dogs.
That's a sophisticated man right there. If you've got 4 chickens, you're
I have chickens.
Yeah.
My wife's a vet nurse. I'm supposed to have special pets. They're the only kind they're allowed to be issued with.
I nearly ended up with fucking hedgehogs recently because I keep finding like sick ones in my backyard, and I ain't dealing with that shit. So I called like some hedgehog rescue people, and this one we got the other day had to have its leg amputated, and I was like, "That's tragic, but you're going to take him, right?" And they called me, and they're like, "So he's got his leg chopped off." I'm like, "Great for the update." They're like, "Can we bring him back?" I'm like, "He had his leg chopped off because a fox here bit it off. Maybe you want to take him somewhere where there ain't foxes?" And they're like, "Huh. I didn't think of that." I'm thinking, fuck me. I'm like, is this how you do it? You're like, I rescued a hedgehog from underneath a car, and then after it was well, I put it back under the car. Nailed it. Anyway, people, please put out water for hedgehogs. They're apparently suffering.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. You heard it here first. Okay. So, topic of conversation for today, as we have Star Wars Day tomorrow, I guess we're gonna have to talk about Star Wars. So, you know,
Who's watching Clone Wars? Who's watching Clone Wars?
I haven't seen the new. One of my mates said that the new Clone Wars started off, the new series started off pretty badly, but at the end arc is amazing. So,
I've got to be honest, like, I've downloaded it, but I was so emotionally hurt from what it did to me last time that I've not been able to open my heart to it again, because I'm like, I'm just going to be like, Obi-Wan deserved better, and this is gonna hurt me again. And
I preferred Rebels to Clone Wars.
Rebels. The last season of Rebels was bloody good, especially don't want to get into too much of the spoilers, but when a certain character that was highly established in Clone Wars returns in Rebels, it is possibly one of the best things that Star Wars has done. And definitely
Rebels,
a very
whenabouts is it set? Where in the timeline is it?
Between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The only thing I really liked about Rebels, because I don't tend to like shows where the main character is kind of a kid, because they always shit me, but that's just a personal preference. But Chopper, I would die for that droid. That droid is such a fucking little psychopath. Like, you remember that episode where he wanted, like, a spare leg, and they're like, you can't have the spare legs. He's like, all right, I'm just going to beat someone to death for the spare leg. Oh, and I see you have a new droid. I'm going to push him out of a ship. Get fucked, droid. And I was, I love Chopper so much. I really want a good quality Chopper figure with an extra leg. Held up.
Well, for me, I loved Sabine. Sabine was a fantastic character. And I love the comparisons and the different Jedi. It really kind of added more nuance to how the Jedi were represented.
That being said, as much as I love the Clone Wars and I would kill for Obi-Wan Kenobi, I would really love if we could start getting some scenes in the Old Republic instead of just games. Like, because there's just so much interesting Jedi and Sith and,
Well,
there's so much lore we could be plumbing here instead of, getting away from the fucking Skywalkers.
Well, if to be believed, one of the supposed film projects is going to be set around the Old Republic. So fingers crossed, because Knights of the Old Republic is still one of my favourite ever games. So if they can adapt it and make it half as exciting as that game, I'm in.
You've got to have a good droid.
Oh, good.
The High Republic stuff is going to deflect the Old Republic stuff. Because now they've decided this big multimedia extravaganza with comics and books and all sorts of other stuff in the High Republic.
Yeah, the High Republic, yes. I just assumed they're all led by Kevin Smith.
We're the High Republic. It's just kind of shiny and glam with white and gold accents everywhere.
It's a bit weird, but I'm going to read it. It looks good.
Hell, I'd even love to see some more deep diving into like the Dathomir witches, because that was always so interesting to me. That whole sect of just like evil, like not even evil, just a different aspect of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely took a lot of drugs.
That's the one thing I've missed out on, because I haven't seen any of the animated stuff, like bar the odd one and stuff, like the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and stuff. And I've seen that, but I haven't seen them all, which obviously has affected my sort of the cohesion between the films and obviously the series and stuff. But
I think the problem is when you watch Clone Wars, like the animated one we're talking about, you will actually walk away being like, fuck, Anakin was such a great character. Like, he was amazing, and you could totally see why you fell. But when you just watch the movies, you're like, fuck that kid. Get shot in the head for all I care.
But then in the Clone Wars, he doesn't talk about his hate of sand.
Yeah.
Because it's coarse and rough and gets everywhere.
I think he gets a bit of a bad rap and stuff. I don't think it's too bad and stuff. It's just, I think it's just like, easy to sort of like bash on him and stuff. I don't think it was horrible as for what he was.
No, I will say Hayden Christensen, in defence, in Revenge of the Sith, especially after the fight with Mace Windu, from that point, I think he does play the part really well. Still a little bit whiny, but just the look in his face, especially when he's fighting against Obi-Wan.
Yeah, the intensity.
Because his argument with Obi-Wan just before they fight is a little bit silly, but it's just his look, his stance. He's very confident, and come on, I still wince a little bit. I still shudder when you see him go to the Padawans. They go, Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? It's just like, it's like
that was nicely done.
I tell you what, that created the best meme ever. You know, the one from the original series where he's like, "This was your father's lightsaber." Yeah. He killed many younglings with it.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing that sort of gets me about sort of doing prequels and then not really thinking about stuff like that, and it's slightly annoying because it's just like, you just have to bear in mind stuff you've done before, and it frustrates me and stuff, and how things in sort of the prequels were a lot more slick, and then suddenly it all went a bit retro. and they tie it in at the end of in the not Last Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, where they they tried to make it look like that's where they were progressing to, but it was literally we've got all this new CGI technology, we could do cool stuff with it, so let's do that instead of sort of doing what we used to do. And yeah, it's slightly annoying.
I hate when they start relying on special effects over the quality of the story. Because at the end of the day, special effects, they'll age with time, depending, unless you're, the original Jurassic Park. But generally enough, it's what's going to be remembered is the story. And then they go, we'll just add some more fucking lightsabers. No, what you need to do is add someone who sits there, reads the script, and goes, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I think the Hobbit suffered a lot from too much CGI and stuff like
Hobbit.
that. Yeah, they went from certain everything being being sort of tangible and miniatures and bigatures as they called them and stuff, and then suddenly they went, we've got lots of CGI, let's do everything in CGI. And it's just
this was the thing with Lord of the Rings. Obviously, there was a lot more practical work because the CGI just clearly didn't exist, or it wasn't that good then. So when they put that into play, you could believe it. You could tell, obviously, trick camera work and everything. And then with The Hobbit, I think it was just like, hey, we've got the technology now. Let's try and do what we were originally going to do. Holy shit, we actually did that. Jesus.
Benedict Cumberbatch is a dragon. Just have a fucking dragon, man. He doesn't need to be a famous guy.
But even then, don't get me wrong, there were some good things in the Hobbit trilogy. One of the big downfalls is that it was.
There shouldn't have been a trilogy, man. It barely should have been
a trilogy. No way. Because originally it was just going to be one film.
That's what it should have been.
That's all I watched.
Then it was going to be sort of like Kill Bill style. It was going to be split into two, an hour and a half film. Well, not hour and a half. So it's going to be like 2.5 hour film either side within 6 months. Then they made it a year. Then they went, sod it. We got enough material. Let's make 3 films. Yeah, and I reckon Peter Jackson, when he got told, you're making 3 movies, he probably went, you fucking joking? Yeah. Are you really fucking joking?
There are there are some bits and pieces. I know we've completely gone on a tangent here. We're talking Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
We'll go Star Wars in a minute.
Yeah, but
it's a complicated segue to go back into Star Wars. Stick with this, people. We are getting there.
We have a logic.
Yeah,
we promise.
The book it's quite brief, and there's a lot of things like Gandalf disappears off, and it talks about the necromancer, who's obviously Sauron, but it doesn't really go into much detail about what he's doing and things like that. And so they added a bit of depth, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind the exposition of some parts of it. But there was other things that's like, it's unnecessary. You didn't really need a lot of the stuff. And, they had... The problem with The Hobbit as well, actually, was the fact that, you had a lot of these things in the original, like the trolls and stuff that didn't talk, and, wargs that didn't talk. But then suddenly you had trolls that did talk, and then, wargs. One of the armies at the end was meant to be a warg army. Which they didn't really have.
That's another thing as well. Battle of the 5 Armies, it's barely mentioned in The Hobbit. It's like literally, if anything, about a paragraph, and they make that into half a film.
Well, again, I don't mind the exposition of the battle and stuff, because again, a nice battle. But the thing is, the lake, the lake town people, they are just a militia and stuff, and they're from what I understand, from what I remember, The Hobbit's been a long time, they were an army, they were one of the armies, so I don't understand why they were just sort of made out to be this sort of little rabble, militia that had no sort of standing army, and the elves were there to save their lives and stuff, and it's just like, come on, man.
So speaking of books, here comes the segue.
Yep.
Has anyone read the Star Wars Book of the Sith?
No.
Any good?
Actually, it really is.
Who's it by?
Daniel Wallace. So the Book of the Sith, the concept is that when Luke defeated the Emperor, he basically went and stole his shit, and he wanted to find all of the various things that Palpatine had researched on the Sith over the years, and then compile them into a book for future generations to learn about, including like memoirs from Palpatine on his master and the plans he had during the Republic. And so it can be a little irritating because sometimes there's like shit written up the side as if it's a real journal. So you have to spin the book 360 to get through a fucking page.
What's the book that does that? What's his name? Is it the Book of the Dead or is it Book of, no, what's it called? There's one. It's going to fucking annoy me now. The guy who did No Country for Old Men, the guy who wrote the book. He did another one, the Book of Leaves. Is it called the Book of Leaves or something like that? It's basically you've got to move back and forth, and you've got to use encryption things to read it, and you've got to go back and forth and sort of find stuff. And there's stuff upside down, and there's
this isn't that deep. It's just more along the lines of someone who's like writing, and then there'll be like a highlighted bit, and then like a line over here being like, "This is bullshit,"
McCarthy,
or "This has been verified," or
they did a set of them, didn't they? There's a Jedi Way one. There's a Jedi one, a Bounty Hunter one. I think there's a Resistance one.
Yeah,
there's a Smugglers one as well.
I'd like to read the other ones because they also lovely hardcover. But what's really interesting about it is towards the end, Palpatine starts discussing how he's going to destroy the Republic. And if you read it, especially with today's modern political climate, it's actually, I kind of feel like Donald Trump read it. Because it's exactly what he's doing, and it's really weirdly concerning. He's like, the best thing you have to do is you need to turn the people against the outliers who would take your power away from you. So you want to start blaming immigrants. You want to start blaming aliens. You want to make out their culture is weird and wrong. And I was like, oh shit.
And he also mentions radical Jedi.
It's actually real. It's a really interesting book because there's obviously the parallels in the real life that we have, but also you can it's nice to see that plan there, that it wasn't just, I am a Sith and I will be elected, blah, ha, ha, ha. It was a more insidious plan over time about changing public perceptions that by the time Order 66 comes through, people are ready to believe that, the Jedi have too much power. What are they doing being war generals? They're just trying to take from us.
I would just like to add, Geek Pride does not in any way say that Donald Trump is a Sith. Just saying that for legal purposes.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You have to have some sort of
don't John strike us.
Yeah, you've got to have some sort of intelligence to be a Sith. So
Maggie, you said that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who's this a friend?
I have political lines, but that is one that I'm happy to cross. I'm sorry.
And Laura, you said that you said in the book it says that Luke defeated the Emperor. Wasn't it Anakin who threw him down the pit?
Yeah, but like Luke wrote the book, so is he going to be like, so my dad, he defeated the bad guy for me, and I stole his shit.
So he lied in the book.
Exactly, lies.
Yeah. I defeated the Emperor.
Yeah. Or it probably said something along the lines of when we did it, and then like just never mentions his dad. But yeah, it's interesting because what'll be happening is there'll be like a torn page from like something in the Old Republic or something torn later, and Palpatine's writing on the side. Like literally, he'll be like, "That's us as shit. That didn't work. That's not how Sith works." And you're just like, But I would be interested to read the other ones, and if anyone would possibly like to send me one to review, I'd do that for you. Out of the goodness of my heart.
Wow, you're so good, Laura. Wow.
I know I would suffer through it. I'd give it in-depth review.
She's saying this because she knows I've got one.
Dude, really? Give me for review purposes because I am a professional.
And obviously it will be returned afterwards. Oh, you weren't supposed to laugh at this moment. You're supposed to go off microphone and laugh.
No, it will go up with my collection of Jedi Apprentice books. Did anyone else read those back in the day? Oh, that's good shit.
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah. That was Obi-Wan's apprenticeship with Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh.
And I think they're still considered canon by a lot of people.
It's my daughter's
Except
birthday
Kathleen
next
Kennedy.
Week. Oh, well, yeah, screw her.
Well, I recently got the Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga box set and Rogue One and Solo all together. So I just think it's like, yeah, this is going to be good.
Mr. Geary.
Yeah.
Yes, we did briefly talk in terms of Skywalker Saga, especially the sequel trilogy of the Skywalker Saga, because you proclaimed the Rise of Skywalker was superior to The Last Jedi.
It
Get
is.
fucked.
It is. Yeah.
It is. It is not.
Okay.
It
All right,
is.
okay. All right. Jon Jo.
Can we do this fair?
Right,
Can we do this fair?
before this goes off on some, you know, we're going to try and structure this debate. Okay. We're going to try and structure this debate. Okay. So
Just getting ready.
you know, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to put forward your argument. And I want you to say, you know, why it's better. Why The Last Jedi is better than The Rise of Skywalker, and keep it.
Right, should we do this political debate terms? Every one of you gets 15 seconds and then fucking move on.
Yes.
Just all right, okay. Just go for it. Why? Give me your view. Why do you think it's better? No, first of all, why do you think? Do you think that The Last Jedi was a good film? And
15 seconds.
Okay. The last.
just The Last Jedi. Is it a good film? Does it hold up well to the other ones?
The Last Jedi, as I see, is a natural progression of the Star Wars story. It's not rehashing anything that's come before. It's not trying to quickly tie up any loose ends. It's not trying to bring back something that makes absolutely no sense. It is just progressing the story. It's taken a left turn in terms of, oh, you know, we're going to get Luke Skywalker. He's just going to come back and save everything. No, he is not. He's going to be conflicted. He doesn't want to help. He's done something that he wasn't proud of. He feels responsible for everything that's gone on at this moment. And at this moment in time, we still believe that Snoke is a decent threat. He gets cut off, and it's like, okay, so where do we go now? And at that time, it was that mystery. It was that idea that, hang on, was this supposed to be the big bad? But the big bad has just been killed off. Luke Skywalker, he gets killed off. He's gone. And then it's like, okay, we're now left with a new series of heroes. Right, let's carry on with these new characters. Let's talk about the future. Let's not go back to the past. And then Rise of Skywalker, they shoe in. Yep, the Emperor.
Stop.
15 seconds.
Right, stop. Before you move on, I just wanted your view on The Last Jedi. So your Last Jedi.
Sorry. Okay, all right. Back to Last Jedi then.
Yeah. See,
some great cinematography, a very coherent story. There are some beats that don't work well. In particular, the whole casino planet is a little bit. It's definitely a weak arc. I will admit.
It's not weak. It's completely pointless. There's no point.
It is pointless.
You could take that out of the film and nothing would change. There would be no point in it being
I'd
there.
love them to actually recut the film without it and see if anyone else liked it more. Just release a version without that scene.
I would like Last Jedi a lot more if there was completely removed counterplay. There was no point for it at all.
Yeah,
it was
pointless.
I was just sitting on my arse for an hour working, well, this was just pointless. Why show that? There was no overall consequence for that sequence in the overall film.
Last Jedi lost me.
Wait,
5 minutes.
Sorry, Karen.
For Last Jedi lost me as soon as Luke holds the lightsaber and then chucks it behind him. That film lost me right there, because after every single film we've had up to then about this is your lifeline, you should respect this weapon, this is your, and Luke just goes, fuck that. I just went, Rian Johnson, you need your scalp done.
So yes, Jon Jo.
That strong note.
Jon Jo, on where does it sit sort of for you as a Star Wars film? Is it, you know, I'm not going to make you list them sort of 1 to sort of like, you know, 11. But sort of, is it sort of on a par with? Is it sort of a original sort of trilogy? Is it anthology ones? Whereabouts is it?
Oh, it's nowhere near the anthology ones. That's ridiculous. The anthology are really low. No, I would say, hey, I'm allowed an opinion as much as you are.
Opinions are like assholes, Jon Jo. Everybody's got one.
May I submit quickly a different rating system? The rating system of basically, would you watch it again for fun?
I would happily watch The Last Jedi again for fun. And in terms of ranking, I would still put Empire Strikes Back as my top. Original Star Wars, New Hope would be second. And I would probably put Last Jedi third. And the way I see it for me, I wanted a Star Wars film that wasn't rehashing what had been done before. It wasn't trying to copy something that had already existed. It wasn't trying to just play off the same character traits and the same ball that had already come from certain other films and properties, not just the Star Wars stuff, but also not just in terms of films, but like the books, the comics, because there is some rough stuff in some of them books. But for me, The Last Jedi just gave me an experience that I really enjoyed, and it was one of the things at that time I came out of the cinema, and I don't think it'd been a film for a long time made me think, oh God, I've now got to see the next one. I've really got to see what happens now. And the last time I had that was probably Empire Strikes Back. But yeah.
Okay, right. First up, Robert Nicholson on Facebook says, yes, look, grumpy old, no sense, exclamation mark. A fair few of us will agree with you there.
I thought this was supposed to be fair and unbiased.
No,
this is unbiased.
I'm just voicing other people's opinions, Jon Jo. You know, if I agree with you, that's, you know.
Well, you don't have to sound so happy about it.
Right. I just want to make a point, a rebuttal on some of your points. You say it's not like any of the other films. It's Empire Strikes Back. You have a planet instead of white stuff. You have you've got salt flats. You have walkers. You have a bunch of them going off to a sort of kind of other area like Bespin, which is effectively a front for a what's even the word, criminal enterprise. It's exactly like Canto. Is it Canto Bight? Is that the name of the planet?
I thought you were calling me something there for a second.
Canto Bight. It's exactly the same thing. You've got Rey off in another area trying to get trained. Just like it is Empire Strikes Back. It is rehashing it's the same thing. No, I'm not
Yoda even turns up in Last Jedi. So
just like,
come on,
just like Obi-Wan, he turns up just like Obi-Wan turns up in Empire Strikes Back. So it is a rehash. It's just a rehash that was done badly. I don't mind there being, things back to what other films are. And by all means, if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. Now, I have only seen it once, and I am struggling to watch it again because I was so affronted by it. I didn't hate it. I just felt that the direction that it went and all the open-ended things that it did and Princess Mary Poppins Leia thing was just it was an absolute travesty. And
honestly, that was so horrific. The CGI was bad. The concept was bad. It just she deserved better. We deserved better.
Right. I'll put this in. I think the way they did in the Rise of Skywalker, what she got at the end was very fitting, and it actually made me tear up slightly. So, as much as I was really annoyed in The Last Jedi, I think they turned it around, and they sort of I think they made up for a lot of the open-ended stuff that was in The Last Jedi. I think there was a lot of things that were thrown in there to try and do curveballs. I can understand why he was doing it. I can understand why he wanted Luke to be like that, and I can understand why he's done certain things, because he wanted to make it feel like it wasn't another film, despite it was effectively Empire Strikes Back. But he just, in my view, and I just don't think Luke should have been like that. It annoys me because it's like, he's meant to be one of the strongest Jedis. And if you think about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, both who lost so much more, they didn't turn into sort of assholes who didn't want to help and stuff. They as much as they were like, oh crap, they did their thing and they died for it. Whereas,
I mean, to be fair, in terms of they didn't turn into assholes that didn't want to help, the Order 66 went out and Yoda effectively went, well, I'm not going to try and save anyone. I'm off to Dagobah. Fuck everyone. and Obi-Wan was like, okay, I'm going to take this one kid and I'm going to take him back to his father's homeland, dump him with someone else, and go live in a shack.
Whoa. Yoda only went into exile because he failed to defeat the Emperor. That was the only reason he goes to Dagobah in exile, is because he had a mission to do and he failed that mission.
Whoa.
He did so much well. He faked his own death.
Like,
he could still go out and actually help, because like we saw basically, in Rebels and stuff, that there were Jedi Padawans out there who'd survived. He could have gone out there and protected them, but he's like, oh shit, I guess I failed. Better go live in a swamp and eat a rat. Like, fuck off, Yoda. It was lazy, is what it was. He basically just went, it's not my problem anymore. Shrugged and pissed off.
Yeah,
Okay.
One more minute.
Go on.
Jon,
Go on. I was going to say.
Yeah.
I do my rebuttal.
I didn't hate it. All right, it wasn't something, but it's just I felt it was weak because they tried to throw too many curveballs in, and it annoyed me because throughout this whole thing, especially for people like myself, who there from early on, like Star Wars for a lot of people means a lot to them and stuff, and so it didn't have the resonance that I wanted. Now, my friend Russell, who went to see it with me and stuff, and we both came out feeling exactly the same way about the Princess Leia thing, about how Luke was very upset about it. But he changed his mind, and he says, "Look, man, you need to watch it again, and you need to put it in the view that this is a kids' film, and a kids' film, it makes more sense." And I can understand that argument. It's like the Ewoks in Return of Jedi and stuff. Like, for us growing up, we loved the Ewoks because that was something cool. Whereas other people might have looked at it when they're older and going, "That's ridiculous. That's stupid." But I'm just struggling to sort of, all the Star Wars films, all of them, I have watched multiple times, and this is the only film I had no inclination to want to go back and watch again, because I think they betrayed what Luke Skywalker should have been, or they did it badly. I wouldn't mind if he wanted to be a bit of a curmudgeon, but like I said, the lightsaber over his shoulder thing was comic relief that didn't need to be done. The milk thing.
No! I will stand by the milk thing, because that is just pure insanity. Just dead eyeing you as you suck that titty milk straight out. Just dead eyeing her. Just like, what are you gonna do about it? Say something. I fucking dare. Oh, the chaotic energy in that one scene fueled me. But otherwise, yeah.
Canto Bite, unnecessary. The bit I love is when he sort of he projects his Force ghost. That was awesome. That was good. There was some good bits. And I'm not saying.
And he gave himself a haircut and a shave and some nice new threads. He was like, okay, a bit of extra force, like a little bit of extra energy, as long as I go out looking hot.
I like that. Yeah, he used his powers. He's going like, I'm going to de-age myself by 10 years.
But that
is Padme's kid through and through, motherfuckers. He's going out hot.
It just threw too many curveballs in. It just threw too many things that were.
What did you think of this scene against all the Snoke's guards?
Oh, that was awesome. That was such a good scene.
That was actually solid.
That was so good.
Visually too.
Yeah, the back-to-back fighting, that was amazing. That was just so good. It's like when people take the piss out of Phantom Menace and stuff. Phantom Menace has some of the best lightsaber battles you're going to get in a Star Wars film and stuff. Darth Maul's one of the best fucking bad guys. It's just like, people forget. So that's why.
Ray Park can still do all those moves.
Yeah.
And he does constantly on edge and forward.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But it's getting awkward and weird now. Because he'll just be like, hey, I'm Ray Park. And you're like, oh, you're Maul. And he's like, yeah, give me your lightsaber. And you're like, chill.
Yeah, but before we have that amazing fight scene, it's the point of Snoke all powerful, all there. And then with a flick of a wrist, he's done. He's gone. Yeah. While episode, The Force Awakens is like, he's this ominous presence, for ages people are going, who is he? What is he? What's he doing? And then with just a snap of the fingers, guy's in half.
Then the next film, great. He was just like a half clone guy.
Yeah, a half clone. It was like Rian Johnson. Thanks for that. Cheers very much. Kathleen Kennedy.
Okay.
I've often thought the problem is that they needed to have sat down and write all three films at the same time.
They needed an overarching plot that was structured in advance.
Consistent plot, consistent screenwriters, consistent. The way that they just jumped it all over the place. Rian Johnson had his own view of how things should go, so he decided to change things. And then J.J. Abrams was like, no, that's against my views. So I'm going to take a shit on everything you did and bring it back. And that ended up affecting people all over the place.
I want to see an interview between J.J. and Ryan in a few years down the line, when things have calmed down a bit, and say, so, Star Wars.
Honestly,
I don't want to see them go for it.
They need to be both absolutely pissed, because the two of them, whenever they give interviews, they're really professional and they try and tread around, I enjoy their vision for the story. It just wasn't my vision. All right, politicans, look, let's just give them some boxing some boxing gloves, a lot of tequila, and make them both watch the films back to back.
Now this is great.
Colin Trevorrow
This is
as well.
great. Yeah. We'll have Ryan Johnson in one chair and J.J. Abrams in another chair, and have Mark Hamill mediate it. Let's see how well this goes.
Punches himself to knock himself out so he doesn't have to watch them again.
Right. Jon Jo, before you get your sort of rebuttal, I'm going to write out some. Robert Nicholson's seems to be very animated about this on Facebook, so I want to read some out, and then you can say your piece as well. Robert says, there's a fair few here.
Robert agrees with me that a Jedi Master like Yoda wouldn't have an ego to be crushed to piss off to Dagobah.
Yeah, serious need for suspension of disbelief during Rise of Skywalker. Find the Master Codebreaker? Really? Side quest to random planet in the middle of everything? That's Dungeons and Dragons. That implies that Yoda has his ego crushed. Not possible in the Master Jedi. Too many curveballs, exactly. And I have seen every single Star Wars film in the theater at release. Benefits of age. I'm 52. If only you had experienced the pre-Star Wars world. The absence of decent science fiction films was stunning. That's why I never complain. Right, John. Yeah, sorry,
you watch
Mark.
Dune?
Yeah, because I've been out of it for a minute. First things first, I fully agree that all the messing about backwards and forwards with it being consistent. Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm should have set a proper fucking plan in the first place, rather than just going hands off and just assuming it would be brilliant, because they caused half the problems and pissed so many people off. Pardon my French. Secondly, the whole thing with Yoda, I think, obviously, you guys haven't watched it, but there is some attempt to address that in the new Clone Wars series, along with a bunch of other stuff they try and hit, that maybe makes it a little bit more consistent in terms of they're kind of talking about it as this idea of the Jedi being caught in the idea of the living force over right and wrong, and the idea that Yoda did it not because he gave up. He did it because he thought that was what the Force expected him to do, so that he'd be there down the line for Luke. So he didn't.
That feels like they've heard the complaints of fans and they're trying to give them an out.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's actually true to kind of the way that we've seen the Force work, because they've shown often that prophecies, anyone Jedi who sees prophecies, they're often self-fulfilling. And if Yoda had the ability to tell that he was going to be needed for Luke in 20 years' time, he would have been able to tell a bunch of other stuff that came before, like all of the kids getting slaughtered under his care. Like, the Force isn't going to be like, yo, I'm cool with 30 or so kids getting beheaded, but I'm going to need you to stay in a swamp for 20 years in case this one kid comes along, and then I want you to train him like you're a backpack. Like, I've got this vision for you, Yoda, and Yoda's taking notes, yep, cool, just going to fuck off for 20 years. I'm good. Fantastic. It just feels like they're just trying to come up with a reason to kind of explain what was just initially a bit of bad writing that they could have probably established more in the prequels.
And you shouldn't have to watch something else to gain insight into what is happening in a film.
I would have liked it better if at the end of the prequels, maybe he sustained quite a bad injury. Maybe he needed to go heal for a very long time. We don't know his species. Maybe he needs to be immersed in a place of the living force, maybe an old Jedi temple. Maybe he needed that for healing, and then he just got too old to do anything. That would have been a very quick flyaway. He got a bit stabby. He's off to heal. He's old as balls. But instead, they just kind of implied that he just fucked off for 20 years. And that just doesn't track with his character arc or any Jedi arc, really.
Okay, Jon Jo, you've been battered quite consistently, so you can have your rebuttal.
I still feel quite strong. Okay, so beginning of Rise of Skywalker. What's the first thing that comes up? The dead speaks. Okay, fair enough. We knew Palpatine was coming back. We didn't know what kind of capacity. Okay, so how are they going to explain his return? Are they going to say, he's come back in terms of...
Sorry, Jon Jo. So you've got nothing else to say about what we've said about the Last Jedi?
You want me to do a brief rebuttal on the...
Do not encourage him.
So have you about to say, that was what that's what a rebuttal is. Have you got any points that we've made that you disagree with?
Okay.
Too late.
No, not I would say, in terms of as I've already said, the Casino Planet stuff. Definitely, I agree. Definitely not the strongest thing in the film. Definitely could have been taken out. Probably wouldn't have made too much of a difference, but I'm sure there would still be a difference in that side. The Force powers, obviously, you're talking about Leia with the whole floating through space. The only thing I'll say is that was probably, one of the things that people went, oh, hang on, that's a Force power and that's being used. And then look at another film that went after it. They then had Force healing, which had never been shown really in the films until Rise of Skywalker. So if you're unhappy about one Force power coming into effect, which has never been seen before, and then, another film giving you more Force powers that never been seen before, really, you can't really argue about one if you're then not going to argue about the other.
I don't think people are mad that they're like, oh, we've never seen this power before. I think they were just mad that it just looked fucking dumb.
Yeah, and it was just a fact.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they had to, in the Rise of Skywalker, they had to show that she had done training and that she was effectively a Jedi in her own right. Whereas at this moment in time, she was just Force-sensitive person who suddenly was floating in space and sort of like was flying around and shit. Like she was an absolute Jedi master, and there was no explanation for it whatsoever.
As if the Force could
was
protect you from the pressure of space that kind of, I don't know, boils your fucking blood in your that's just the Force is not a MacGuffin. It should not be used to cure all problems.
The only defense of her surviving number 2, and I didn't overly want there to because of her actual death, but what they did in the last one, I think, made up for it because I thought it was quite a fitting end for it. But I just. It made it look silly. It was silly, and it was just sort of like, I know it's Star Wars in general is silly if you think about it, but it's just sort of like, that was just over the top, and even my
felt
friend.
Like they just want.
Sorry,
you finish.
Yeah, I was just saying, even my friend who watched it again and said, look, it's better. You just watch it again. He says that even that I can't. That's garbage. That bit was just fucking pointless. I don't understand. It's just so you've got that part and you've got the Canto Bite thing, and they are just completely irrelevant, pointless. And if you've got two big things that suddenly are, you could take out of a film, then it's not a good film. Surely,
it's like. In terms of that scene with Leia, the silly thing is what they were obviously trying to communicate was that two parts, that Ben would feel conflicted over his mother potentially dying, and two, that Leia was strong with the Force. What they could have done very simply with that scene is have a missile blow at the bridge right, and have Leia hold the missile just before impact, enough time for people to actually get out of the bridge. Because that we've seen as a Force power, the ability to hold something in place. Kylo Ren did it in the first film with the Force bolt. We could have seen that without the ridiculous flying through space, and that would have shown power and a bit of a nervousness and tension to the scene more than this kind of weird flying through space thing did.
I will say that Leia's powers had been established before The Last Jedi. In The Force Awakens, when Han Solo dies, she knows that he has died. She senses that.
That's Force sensitivity, though. That's the difference between being a Jedi and Jedi Master. There's Force sensitives all over it. Yeah.
What they were trying to establish is that she was strong with the Force. Like, she was as strong as potentially Luke was through a show of actual Force, because we've never seen that from Leia. We've just seen maybe the bond she shares, which we know Force sensitives tend to. There's Padawan links, there's links with lovers, family links. So that she'd get that, she'd feel that feeling, but they were trying to show she has as much power as Luke does, and they just did it in a really dumb way.
Yeah, I think what the problem is there's no subtlety to it. There's no actual sense of mystery. I mean, if they just had Leia turn around just before the missile hit, just said, "Everyone leave."
Yeah.
Just abandon the bridge, and literally everyone leaves, close the door, and then literally seconds after the last person comes in, the missile hits. That would have been much more subtle, but yet given further insight into, yes, Leia is powerful, she can foresee. things that are about to happen.
I would say she probably would have done that, but her focus was on Kylo Ren. She was obviously like with him at that time, going like, "Are you like almost in mind going, are you really going to do this?" He's like, "I kind of have to, but I really don't want to." But then it's someone else that blows the room. So really, she had her focus on Kylo Ren, and she knew that he wasn't going to do it. But at that time, as she's focusing on him, she can't obviously then tell that someone else is then about to come and bomb it, because she thinks, "Oh, it's Kylo Ren that's come to kill me, not my son's come to kill me, not anyone else."
In terms of subtlety, one of the things that I was disappointed in is in the final scene where Luke's hot Force ghost comes to fight Kylo Ren. They decided to show us that he was the hot Force ghost like 5 minutes before it was revealed by having one of the troopers lick the salt and go, what is this stuff? Why is it turned red? Oh, it's because it's salt. That was the giveaway, the immediate giveaway that Luke wasn't actually there, because he leaves no footprints in that scene.
But when did you notice that? I didn't notice that at first until afterwards.
I noticed it straight away because Kylo was kicking up shit all over the place, and I thought it was so obvious. It was white, and everywhere Kylo stepped, it went bright red. Nowhere Luke did. So I was like, immediately like, he's not there. And I was like, it didn't need that to be there.
I kind of thought there was something else. I kind of thought there was something else in play, because I did notice it straight away. I just thought, this is not the same Luke Skywalker, because he now does look younger, and I thought there had to be something to it. I didn't know what it actually was, and then when obviously they reveal it's false projection, I was like, okay.
I was working on the principle that they generally don't tend to leave things in movies without a purpose.
Yeah.
So, like, why would you leave in a random scene where some guy, like, licks the salt and he's like, what is this? Oh, it is salt. It has no bearing on the plot in any way, shape, or form, unless 5 minutes later.
It's Chekhov's gun, isn't it? They show you a gun somewhere, and somewhere down the line that's going to have something happen.
Yeah.
Look, this is my family.
I'm not a fan of it, because I'd rather the story just tell itself without them having to be like, hey, something's coming. Something's gonna be really interesting in a moment. Pay attention. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah, but they're going to show this in American cinemas. They have to be unsubtle.
I'd rather have been as surprised as Kylo was, other than waiting for Kylo to fucking catch on.
Force Ex Machina.
And again, he is an idiot.
One thing I did see was interesting. Someone said the reason he looks younger as the Force Ghost is that he's appeering as Kylo remembered him when he was younger. Because obviously the idea was that as Ben, he travelled with him.
Yeah, because I think that is it.
My theory is much more solid. He comes from Padme Amidala and Anakin Skywalker, two giant fucking drama queens. If that bitch is going to die, he's going to go down hot, he's going to go down looking good, and I will accept no other answer. I have spoken.
Let's face it, with Force Ghost, they changed an entire actor in the new Return of the Jedi, so let's not go down that fucking route.
Yeah.
I have to say that I was really impressed by the de-aging sequence of young Leia training Rey, training Luke. That was actually, I was expecting it to be a bit too uncanny, but I think they're starting to really hit that level of, this actually looks really good and isn't upsetting on a deep visual level.
The body double was her daughter.
Yeah. I mean, like, CGI on the face is
CGI
really
CGI works best to exaggerate and just slightly tweak, but not to be the entire thing. It needs a physical embodiment of which you manipulate.
CGI, it's a gift, not a right.
On terms of CGI, I will say one of the best uses, especially of recent, was the recent Terminator movie. The beginning of that, when they have the de-aged Sarah Connor and John Connor.
Holy shit! Someone saw that.
Look good.
I haven't watched it yet. Apparently, it's I've had mixed things.
Good things.
I've heard good things.
I enjoyed it.
You know what? I'm going to download it after this tonight because I need something to watch.
It's good.
Legally.
There is obviously moments in it that make you think, why the hell is that in the film? But overall, I mean, it's a solid movie. It's a very fun, solid movie.
That's the new Terminator is the guy, the Punisher in S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah? Not S.H.I.E.L.D., sorry, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, that's it.
That's what the guy's from.
Yes! All right, I have a funny story.
I was like, I know this guy from somewhere, and I was just trying to figure out who it was. It was killing me.
I have a funny story about Gabriel. Okay, so I was at a Star Fury convention. Gabriel was there. and he was on the dance floor with us. He's dressed like a low rent boy, right? He's in tight jeans, a white wife beater on. He's got like a rag out his back pocket. He is dancing like a stripper. It is incredible. He's pissed to the nines. He's got 2 bad infinity gauntlets, 1 on each arm. He's up on stage rapping. It's incredible. Anyway, he tells us the story about him meeting Arnold Schwarzenegger. So apparently he's in the gym and he's working out. And Arnold Schwarzenegger walks in, and he's thinking, oh, God, I'm going to look ridiculous next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Arnold Schwarzenegger walks up to him and goes, yes. Okay, I'm going to apologize to everyone right now for this accent, because I can't do accents. But he's like, dude, look at this man. Look at this man. Look at this creature of a man. Look at these muscles. And he's coming over. He's like fucking petting him. And he's like, come over here. Look at this incredible man.
Arnold Schwarzenegger suddenly turns Scottish.
So sorry.
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger from the clan McSchwarzenegger.
The name Schwarzenegger.
He probably forgot that Gabriel wasn't a maid working for him.
Oh. I'm wondering how he found that one out.
What a way to meet someone, be like, kind of like when your heroes walk up and they're just doing nothing but just like weirdly hit on you. Like, oh, look at your muscles. And I was like, to be fair, I was looking at his muscles at the time. I was like, yeah, Gabriel. Yeah. Uh-huh. But the man dances like a whore, and it's not a bad thing. It's a fantastic thing. I have so much respect for that guy. Mwah.
Another patented Geek Pride tangent there. Star Wars 2, Terminator. Back to Star Wars.
Let's just say that whenever I'm at conventions, I have this weird thing where a lot of actors will tell me really weird stuff. I just must have that kind of face, and sometimes it can create just amazing stories. Amazing stories. I'll tell you guys about the lap dance I got from Ricky Whittle when American Gods returns for season 3.
Amazing.
And on Star Wars.
This is horrible thing with TV now. When you talk about looking forward to the next season, God knows when that's going to be now for most of the shows.
Going to TVs and seasons. Who got fooled by the Mandalorian season 2 trailer on 420?
100%. Until the very end, and I was like, I hope that's not Yoda. Not Yoda. I hope that's...
values on that show was so high. I don't expect to see any kind of trailer for quite some time.
Yeah. No spoilers for the last episode because I still haven't seen that yet.
That's your fucking problem.
Really good. It's really, really good.
How long has this been out, man? Dude, come on.
I have other things to do.
You don't have other things to do, Jon Jo.
Before that you were playing like 3 games at once. Fuck off and watch the final episode.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, it's about 7 games, but you know.
We've all been on fucking lockdown for the past 4.5 weeks.
I've still been working.
I've still been working. Fuck off. It's a half an hour episode of The Mandalorian. Jesus fucking... I have to walk away in rage, but also because I need pipe cleaners to pull it out of my cat's mouth.
Okay.
I love it. I think Mandalorian is absolutely superb. It's just it's got that good balance of sort of old school nostalgia and sort of a bit, something new. And I like, they tied in the force healing, by the way, through the child. It was in the Mandalorian, so that before the film came out. So force healing came about because he showed that it could happen, and then it was in obviously the Rise of Skywalker. So technically, they did sort of do it pre. So
I really like the new Funko Pop Mandalorian child combo figure. Because beforehand, when they just did the child, it just looked like a slightly smooth Yoda figure, so it was like whatever. But this one's like a scene, so it's got him actually proportioned quite tiny and in his little hover chair thing. It's really cute. I kind of want it.
I got the I've started I've got a horrible addiction to sideshow collectibles and the fact that you can pay in installments. So
oh boy!
So
I've got myself the full size one. Did you get the full size Baby Yoda?
I got the full size Baby.
Oh man!
And 350 was that?
Yeah, and so it turns up in August, I think. And
it's
just
like, if you're lucky.
Yeah, it's just like
I want that so bad. It looks so good.
I just have visions. You're going to watch season 2 of The Mandalorian. You're actually going to be cradling it. See, look, it's you.
I have the. You remember those Sphero BB-8s that came out?
I've still got mine.
Yeah. They eventually released an update for it that if you watch the A New Hope or any of the movies with that turned on, it will actually react to the movie.
Yes, it does. It's quite fun, actually.
I would love if the little baby Yoda did that as well, because anything that fucking thing does, I would die for. Like, I was watching this show the first time. Like, I don't care what happens in the show. I would die for Baby Yoda.
Before
I know the marketing campaign, but
before we move on to Jon Jo's very his lucid, well thought out reason why the Rise of Skywalker is inferior to The Last Jedi. What do you think is the score with the child? As in, do you think it's just a part of the race? Do you think it's related to Yoda? How do you think it's going to be sort of played?
Clone.
I want it to be part of the race and in no way else related. I'm tired of everything being dynasties. If it's related to Yoda, it's just another fucking Skywalker MacGuffin. If it's a clone, it's another Palpatine bullshit. Let it just be part of the species and no other connection. That's what I want.
I think it's going to be Palpatine bullshit though.
Yeah,
I think it's going to tie back to the cult of the Sith and the badly patched up clone of Palpatine and so on.
I think Favreau is going to be a bit more.
Well, I was just going to say, we've seen Palpatine's giant kind of construction-based thing of 10,000 ships that no one seemed to notice the materials, people, and everything being made, whatever. How would he lose the child that easily if it's that important? And if he was pumping them out, he'd probably have like a little army of them. So, and also,
This is where I think Favreau's writing is going to be a bit more intellectual than just, oh, it's a clone, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. I think there's going to be a really elaborate reason of the child. I mean, Yoda went to Dagobah. We don't know what he was getting on with in Dagobah. So, who do we know? I mean, it's the same idea of, if you look at the X-Men films, Professor X transfers his consciousness from his dying body into, one that needs one. How do we not know that Yoda transfers his Force ghost into new baby Yoda?
That would be ethically dubious, I think, for a Jedi.
No, because then how could the Force ghost exist?
And plus, the Jedi believe that dying is just another part of the life's journey.
Unless you say someone actually kills Baby Yoda.
I'm just saying these are the new writers you've got to deal with. But like I'm saying, Favreau could actually come through and say, "Here's an original idea."
Yeah, that's what I want. I want him to just not be related to anyone. He can be the same species for all I care. He quite obviously is, but just that let that be it.
My take on it is that basically, the child is essentially another person from the same species as Yoda. That's it. It is just a very powerful, force-sensitive species, and that is what's make. But
like
they are rare.
Witches. Like they are
rare,
witches.
and they are therefore their interest.
The only other theory I would go with is, in terms of what we see in Rebels. Time travel is technically established, so maybe this is Yoda.
Do we want to
gets sent back in time?
Endgame? No.
Favreau's too good for fucking time travel. But what I want him to kind of like sit down with Lucas and actually talk about is, can we finally put a name to this fucking species and not just call it Yoda baby or Yoda's people?
Apparently there has been names. There has been names, but they never went with them.
It's not got a name. The species itself has not got a name.
No,
it's never been.
That's what I'm saying. But I think apparently there was talk about what the species would be called, and then George Lucas was just like, "Nope, I'm not going to give it a name."
Fuck Lucas.
It's just Yoda's species.
One of the interesting things about that Sith book I read is that they said that the original name of the Sith actually came from a species of force-sensitive creatures whose names were Sith, right?
But they adopted the name.
They adopted the name. They were kind of they were the dark side of the Force kind of people. What if Yoda's species is the balance to that? A light side, a living Force focused species that we've just not encountered for a very long time, or has died out like the Sith, and maybe he's the last of his kind. That would be a fun.
There was a couple of episodes in Clone Wars where they met the embodiments of the Force, didn't they?
Yeah, the daughter and the son.
Yeah, that was bonkers.
Yeah, that was a really stupid plot line. That being said, I definitely want to cosplay the daughter.
So basically, Laura, you're saying that Yoda's species actually could be called Jedi.
Yeah,
I like
Jedi
that.
or something like
I'd buy into that. Yeah, all right.
I'd buy into that as well.
So the originator species, and you've got Yoda, who's over 900 years old. He could have been one of the, further back, he could have been part of the last species blending into our modern day Jedi. It could be that the species looked at the Jedi and went, they are fucking up all our teachings, and they fucked off elsewhere. Or maybe they died out. Maybe they were killed off by the Sith. But that would be my preferred theory, that this is the balance to the Force, that if there was a Sith species, that there was a Jedi species too.
Unfortunately, then they get all the old Republic fanboys jumping up and down them in hopping boots.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of ideas around that.
Yeah.
So it must be running out of people that want to kill them by now, right?
I do like the ideas that I've read so far that Din Djarin could be Force sensitive.
I just think Star Wars is a bit toxic when it comes to sort of people. I know I can be quite animated, as many Star Wars fans can be quite animated about their defense of certain films and stuff. But for me, I don't think there's a bad Star Wars film, as in there's some that are worse than others. But I like Star Wars, so even the original films, even the original
The original films gave us Obi-Wan Kenobi, that hot piece of Jedi ass, and for that they will forever have my appreciation, even when he had his stupid beard.
And
I would just like to say the
Star Wars
the
Holiday
worst...
Special.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pete. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Worse.
I've never watched it. I've seen clips.
Wise.
I won't watch it because I don't want to ruin it.
Wise move.
The Ewok films. I like the Ewok films.
Caravan of Courage.
Yeah, Battle of Endor and Caravan of Courage and stuff. I quite like those. As a kid. So I'm a Star Wars fan, and there's certain ones I prefer over others. But as a saga, Star Wars films. So even the Last Jedi, I understood.
There's aspects you can enjoy.
I can understand. I can enjoy it, but I won't go. I don't like jumping on the bandwagon and bashing films for being shit and stuff, because I don't believe the Phantom Menace, and I've been saying this for years now. From the day, I remember going to see it. I enjoyed it, and fine. I wasn't a massive fan of young Anakin. I wasn't a massive fan of Jar Jar Binks, but I didn't think it ruined the film, and I thought the lightsaber battles were amazing. I think Darth Maul is absolutely amazeballs. I think he's so good. And
the pod racing was fantastic.
Pod racing.
Yeah, so it had a lot of things.
Speaking of Jar Jar Binks, does anyone else here follow the theory that Jar Jar Binks was initially written to be a hidden Sith? Has anyone read that theory?
I've read it.
It's a very, very compelling theory. That the first film we see him in is kind of like him pretending, like all of those things he happens to do, he happens to get it right, or he happens to fuck up in exactly the perfect way, seem a little too perfect, and the idea was going to be that he was actually a Jedi, Sith as well. But then the reaction to him was so bad afterwards, they were just like, we'll just make him comic relief, whatever, we'll get rid of him. It's a really good theory. I think it's on Reddit somewhere. I recommend people read it because it's strangely compelling. And it would have made Jar Jar Binks so much more interesting as a character. I mean, anything would have, but particularly that.
Can I just, while we're talking Mandalorian, can I chuck one last thermal detonator into the conversation?
Oh, you mean finishing it?
Well, more just to try and just for the fun of it. Where does everyone stand on the Rosario Dawson Ahsoka Tano?
Love it.
Totally fine with it.
Love it.
Love it.
I understand the controversy. I read about the controversy, but it seems a lot of hearsay at the moment. So until there's something a bit more specific and concrete, I don't think anyone can point judges.
I think I've missed something. So explain.
The best way to look about Laura. The best way to look about this, the controversy, right? Ever since she's a gay basher and all this kind of stuff, right? Okay, in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, plays a lesbian.
Well, basically, there is a lawsuit from I think it was an ex-gardener of hers, who is transgender and claims that her and her family would abuse the transgendered person, whose gender I'm not sure who they identify as. I only briefly skimmed this, and they would hurl physical and verbal abuse. But that only comes from that one person. There's no evidence of it at this point. So until I think
it's a shakedown.
Yeah, I think until the courts or anything, I just don't think it's worth messing with a woman, a woman's career, especially a woman of color getting such a prominent role in Star Wars until we have more facts. So
That's probably why they've done it.
I think I was just talking about the whole thing about people saying they wanted Ashley Eckstein to be doing it since she's been the voice actor all the way through. But hey,
voice actor, yes, but
yeah,
I think Rosario Dawson is perfect for the role. I mean, if you compare the two, she's Ahsoka. She looks like Ahsoka.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
and at the end of the day, the voice actor thing is just, I don't know, I think it's kind of a silly argument. You've never seen it made for anyone else. There have been plenty of amazing voice actors over the years. She might cosplay her, that's great and everything, but if I got everything I wanted because I cosplayed it, then can't wait to star in the next season of Supergirl. Could only improve it.
I'm just quite impressed that it was just basically, yeah, okay, that's cool. I was expecting at least someone to give some grief about it, bearing in mind the entire last half an hour or so.
I think people can just agree that she's a very, very solid actress with a good career behind her. She's shown she can do it. Good for her. Fantastic to see a woman of color entering Star Wars, another lead character, another one a bit more for our diversity as well. I think it's great.
Cool. It's actually quite good to actually see Ahsoka turn out on TV as well, on apart from animation or just to see her in live action, because that opens up a lot of storyline for her.
And I just feel sorry for her because she's gonna have to learn to lightsaber fight with 2 lightsabers and that fucking thing on her head. So
okay, Jon
hands off to
Jo.
you, lady.
Go on, Jon Jo. You now have to set the second parts of your can't even think of the phrase, but your
15 seconds.
15 seconds to say what's wrong with Rise of Skywalker.
15 seconds.
Okay. Right.
And
you said shut up. You said Last Jedi was a kids' film.
They're all
Theo
kids'
and
films.
Babu
films.
Frick. That basically was appealing to kids. There ain't really much threat in Rise of Skywalker either. Oh no, C-3PO's gone. No, he's all right. He's got a backup of his memory. Oh no, Chewbacca's dead. No, he's fine. It's like, there was no real stakes in that side of things, and I felt really disappointed that they kept hyping it up and then it just went crashing down. Or probably the biggest insult, instead of Rey owning her own identity, becoming her own person, maybe even redeeming the Palpatine name, she goes, oh no, I'm a Skywalker now.
I'd rather she'd just gone, I'm Rey Nobody. Because it doesn't matter. I'm Rey.
Rey, like Madonna.
But it's like, why go for Skywalker? You could have just made yourself your whole other person, or like I said, or even just redeem the Palpatine name. Yes, I know there's been a lot of bad blood from Palpatine, but I'm now going to make it right.
So your argument against it is Babu Frick, the fact that there's no
and Dio.
And 3PO. There's Babu Frick, C-3PO, and the fact that there's no threat.
And also the Emperor. That they could have fixed it
So
really easy. About 30 seconds more to actually explain what happened with the Emperor. Not just, oh, he's back. Why is he back? Who knows?
How do
they even,
old canon, he did clone himself, and in the computer games, there's sort of an implication that he cloned himself.
If you're just watching the films,
Pete said earlier, you shouldn't have to rely on outside media to explain that.
And also as well, where did this whole thing, the dead speak, that would have been perfect at the beginning of the film if they had his tannoid message that was going throughout the galaxy. Where did they put it? They put it on Fortnite. To get the most out of the Rise of Skywalker, you've got to play a shitty game to understand that last little bit as well. And then, you find out.
There's the thing as well that bothered me is any time you've got any government trying to undertake any big operation, people notice because there's too many moving parts. How the fuck did he get the materials, personnel, machinery, everything required to build that fleet with nobody noticing for however long? How many years has it been? 30 years or something since last film?
Because he's a Sith master and was the emperor of the entire galaxy for a long time.
But he's
not for
meant
30
to be
years.
dead, and he's got wires stuck up his asshole. So it's not like he can be going out mind wiping people.
I didn't have an issue with the Jedi with the Palpatine stuff because the clone thing. When I did used to read comic books and stuff like the Crimson Empire, the Dark Horse Crimson Empire stuff. He was
Dark
a
Empire. Dark Empire.
Yeah, Dark Empire. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
He was a clone. It was all about you had the Fell Empire, I think, that came in it, but there was also like so that stuff sort of tied in with it. So the Palpatine coming back, I like that. I like that idea, and it also made up for the fact that Snoke was dead, and you're talking about being no threat. Snoke was killed in the second. Well, actually, I'm gonna go up point by point. So your issue was Babu Frick. I'm gonna counter that with Porgs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna counter that with Porgs, right?
Porgs were fun.
Yeah, what?
Porgs taste like chicken.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the
You
Porgs
keep
did.
forgetting Dio as well. Dio was an annoying, shitty little robot.
It was
he
so
just made,
J.J. Abrams.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, I don't think those ruined
being
the
said,
film. I could see sort of like the bit at the end where you had sort of suddenly all these sort of Death Star, Super Star Destroyers or Star Destroyers, coming about fine. And I can kind of semi-understand the fact that people.
They basically tried doing Endgame in the end of Star Wars.
Jon Jo, you've had yours. Geary, continue.
But you've got you got precedent for where they went. Plus, they had to basically firefight from the last one, so you had so effectively. I'm not going to say lazy writing because it wasn't lazy. I understand he was trying to throw in curveballs to make it different, try and make it different, but he threw in too many, and it completely fucked up the whole continuity of the whole thing. And I think J.J. Abrams had to go in and patch up a load of issues. And I think that's why he's done certain things. And killing off Snoke, which I can understand, was, right, we just want to do something, left field. And killing him off isn't a bad thing, but they didn't give any reason for it. And I think the Rise of Skywalker was a way to sort of kind of justify why that was. And I didn't have a problem with it. For me, the Rise of Skywalker is more than its little issues with, little robots or Babu Frick or the fact that there was no threat. It's the fact that it was a culmination of a massive journey for a lot of people, and it did it in a way that sort of brought it about emotionally. The fact that Chewbacca got his medal in the end, something harkened back to the first Star Wars film, whereas
that was nice.
Everybody gets a medal,
Yeah.
he doesn't get a medal. That was awesome. And the fact, Leia, the whole Leia thing worked as much as they had to sort of tie in certain things because, they didn't have a lot of audio. What they did with her was nice.
Let me
just quickly, before you start your 15-minute, my main problem with that film was just the Ben and Rey kind of kiss thing. Because I loved the dyad thing, like that moment where she passes him the other lightsaber, and then he does that little shrug, like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill y'all," and they're all like, "Ah, shit." That is a fantastic little bit of cinema, and I love that. But she has been tormented by this guy. He has murdered his father in front of her, would have totally murdered Luke in front of her given half the chance, has blown up entire planets. It's been a monster. She's like, but you came for this one fight, so I guess I kind of like.
It's no different than Darth. It's no different than Darth Vader, really, is
yeah,
it?
But they make out.
But with Kylo Ren, you've got to feel sorry for him because let's face it, he's not won a single one of his solo fights through the entire fucking trilogy.
Useless, honestly.
He's shit. The only reason he won the throne room fight with the Sith guards is because he had Rey to back him up. The only reason he won against the Knights of Ren is because he was no longer Kylo Ren, he was Ben Solo. It's like, dude, if you're gonna go emo, at least learn how to fucking fight. I mean, otherwise, it's just gonna be bad.
I broke my kyber crystal, and it's now like venting these crazy side things, but it makes me look cool. So instead of having a properly functioning, working fucking lightsaber, I'm just gonna go with that aesthetic. But that's always been him with his stupid helmet. He's always worried more about how he looks rather than his actual skill.
Laura,
he's like Darth Vader light.
Laura Hill says on Facebook, if the film is good when Robot Chicken do a parody of it.
Yes.
I always remember the Robot Chicken parody of Bring Your Daughter to Work Day.
Yes. Yeah.
Darth Vader.
Palpatine.
Darth Vader's like, I will definitely just trying to like suss. Yeah, no, good fucking times.
Yeah. So the whole thing was the Rise of Skywalker was more. There's more to it as a whole, as in a bookend to the entire saga. It was literally, it tied up everything. It had a bit nostalgia dripping through it, but not too sort of brazen. And it tied off every little part that you needed. And it gave, I will say those one concerning part was the changing of Poe's backstory to basically being a drug runner. Considering he's an actor of Latino background, it was a bit of a, was that necessary? Because like they'd already seen him being in the Navy and stuff, growing up with Leia. Did he need to be a drug runner, or couldn't he have just had connections living in the current world they did, where everyone's kind of, a bit grey, a bit morally grey? I just found that was a little bit unneeded, and a little, because I mean, what a fantastic character Poe was. And the last Jedi, they've completely fucked him by making him like, oh, I don't care about rules, and I'm going to get people killed because I don't listen anymore. And then in this film, they kind of started redeeming him, but then just changed that bit of backstory that I don't feel was necessary, really added anything, and just was a little bit of a stereotype based on his skin color. That I wasn't great on. Well, I just think it was a good, like none of the films, I don't think you can say that any of the Star Wars films are perfect. They are what you sort of remember. People prefer the older trilogy because that's what they grew up with. If you're of newer age, I know a lot of people from sort of like the late 90s, early noughties, who sort of grew up with the first trilogy. They're happy with that trilogy because that's what their trilogy is. So I just think, for me, emotionally, for somebody who makes me feel slightly emotional thinking about it, but sort of, I'm gonna go now.
That's why he turned the camera off.
Yeah, it's like my father took me to see the Star Wars trilogy when I think it was just Return of the Jedi came out, and I was very young, and we went to see a back-to-back thing of all three films. So it was the first two, and I remember sort of feeling very, very uncomfortable in some dungarees that they put me in, some green cord dungarees that I had. But I sort of my first memory was seeing sort of like my first memory and my first sort of thought of Star Wars was seeing Yoda in the cinema, and I could see it, now, Dagobah, Yoda, that was my first ever sort of kind of Star Wars memory. And, this whole journey was just, that was the end for me, was just an emotional thing. So it really resonated with me.
I'm going to say now, Joe. I can't even say anything else now. You bring up something like that. You say something so touching, so personal like that. I'm just like, right, I'm throwing in the towel. I can't even try. And do you know what? Hearing something like that, no matter what an opinion is you may have, just to hear how it has actually touched someone like that, I can't say anything. I'll just go, yeah. Do you know what? Fuck it. That's the winning comment right there. It's what it's meant to you. It's what like the emotion that it brings out in you, the memories that come flooding back, and you've got something like that, and
it's amazing how it can shape you, isn't it? We as geeks will often get shit for being too into this, but it can be a really big part of your foundation of your identity. Yeah. Like I used to have the original series, the golden box set on VHS. And I would come home and I would watch one of the movies every day for about 9 months until I lent it to my other brother, who gave it away for drug money. And I'm still holding a grudge. It's been 20, 30 years now, Richard. You still owe me. Anyway, I went to the Star Wars Secret Cinema a couple of years back.
Oh, nice.
And when you walked into this rebuilt Tatooine, and it was just like being in the movie. And the next thing you know, you've got, someone, this stormtrooper yelling at you that you look a bit suspicious, so you go on a run from a stormtrooper, and then you have to barter your way for some spice. And it was there was a moment there where I felt like 5 again. Like it was this incredible experience of just something that had been so fundamental growing up. And I think that it would be really great for the next generation of kids to kind of have that. But I also think that they're not going to get the same experience we did, because we got the 3 Star Wars, and then that was it. No other media other than the books for a very long time. None of these other exciting things. It was just, that's all we got. Whereas today's kids, they get it spoon-fed. There's 100 different mediums they can pick from. I don't think they're ever going to get that feeling of waiting 20 years to go see New Hope and see the Millennium Falcon shoot through the sky for the first time, and in some people's life, and the way the whole cinema just had like this awed silence. Yeah. I think that's a really incredible feeling that we all got to be part of, that I don't think future generations will get.
Just going on a little bit from what Matt said, obviously about the relevance to Star Wars, especially in terms of, you know, family, things like that. I will say that probably my closest feeling to that was it doesn't compare at all, I will say, to start off with, but was watching The Dark Knight, because I watched that with my dad. That was a film that we both, you know, like, we don't agree on a lot of films. We really have very diverse film taste altogether. But Batman films are always the ones that we could always watch together. And when The Dark Knight came out, I remember it was a massively packed cinema. This was the first night of release. And I remember we sat there, and this is a person as well who I remember from going to cinema with years ago. If he didn't like a film after 5 minutes, he would make it known. He would walk out. He'd go, "Oh, you know, you can stay here. I'm going to go and sit in the car." It's like, "Oh, cheers, Dad. Leave a 6-year-old in cinema. That's great." But
modern parenting.
Oh, it's the Irish way. But what it was obviously we watched this film, and I have to admit, it's the first time ever I've known him to just sit there and watch the movie. He didn't move at all. You know, he didn't make any murmurs. He didn't say anything. Just sat through that whole film. And you know, The Dark Knight is about 2.5 hours long, so it's quite a fairly long movie. And this was a massively packed cinema. It was like middle of July, so it was bloody hot in there as well. And I think coming out of that, I had such a great experience, because I think that was like one of the memories. It was me thinking, you know, I've had that cinema experience with my father. That's something that, a film that we both really enjoyed, something that we both really have very high opinions on, and something that I'll take away from everything, no matter what film I go and see now going forward. That will probably always be the one that I'll go back to, the one I'll think, yeah, do you know what? I did have a really great experience. Nothing is ever going to touch that.
See, that's a big thing, isn't it? It's just sort of like people, you look at films, and, you know, even sort of ones that people are sort of very down on, but you have to understand that they affect people in multiple ways, and it's not just, you know, it's who they're with and what it reminds them of, and you know,
Matt, you better not be crying, mate.
I'm trying my best, man. I'm sort of getting to that sort of breaky part where I'm like,
just quickly, Gary, how much longer have we got on tonight?
We're gonna end it in about 5-10 minutes. So
after Pete just gets his word out, let me just quickly. How about a nice way just to run into May the 4th tomorrow after Pete talks? How about we all just give a quick memory, our favorite thing about Star Wars, and how we plan to spend May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah. So Pete, go.
Okay. Well, actually, this ties into both. You're talking about the next generation and how they will kind of consume and experience Geek different to what we did. Now, I've got 3 kids of my own, and I'm introducing them to Star Wars. And my daughter's third word was Jedi. We had mummy,
awesome.
daddy, Jedi. And basically, my wife Kaylee had been on a work trip in America. So I thought, right, Star Wars week. We watched Star Wars films, and we go Jedi, and like, you know, she had a lightsaber. She was like, just turned 1. She was waving a lightsaber around, and then my wife came back late at night after a 12-hour flight from Chicago to find Ada bottom shuffling towards her, waving a lightsaber, going Jedi, and I thought, yeah. And since then, she still loves Star Wars. She wants Sabine armor for her birthday.
Oh, cool!
Oh, that's awesome.
She and I just loved watching The Mandalorian with my children, because like it's perfectly aimed at families. There's stuff for kids, There's stuff for adults, and it's just a perfect balance. And it's interesting. Both my children, as soon as both saw Baby Yoda, it's Baby Yoda. I just found that because they don't have that background and longevity, or with the franchise that I do, but it still instantly clicks them. Yeah, it's Baby Yoda.
Yep.
So,
So
yeah, that's me.
How are you going to spend your May the 4th Revenge the Sith? What are you going to do? Anything special?
Okay, Star Wars, Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Watch it with my kids. Get the lightsabers out. Have a lightsaber battle.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Josh, what's your plans?
I've been honoured enough to be sent a care package from Stormtrooper Beer.
Oh.
Which they were very nice to send. So I will be enjoying that in
Does
the
it have a cool
afternoon.
package?
It comes with a glass.
Ooh, send us a photo. Post it later for us all to see.
And I will be enjoying that in the evening. My children are not really into Star Wars, which is quite disappointing, even though we've tried to sit them down. I've tried to sit my son down and watch the films, watch the Clone Wars, watch the TV series, watch Mandalorian, and he doesn't give a fuck. He'd rather be... I'm thinking about swapping him out for a new one. He'd rather be off playing Minecraft or something like that, which is it's fair enough. It's his own thing. My daughter, on the other hand... if that's not a future Princess Leia cosplayer, I'll never know, because the girl wants her hair in buns every single time she sees Leia on the screen. And I sat down with her a couple of days ago, and we were watching The Return of the Jedi. And you know when she peers out over the log with Wicket. My daughter was there with a pillow behind her head, in front of her head, and she's peered out as well, looking over and just staring at her, going, "What are you doing?" And we went to Disney for Christmas, and as soon as we hit the shops, she legged it over to the Porgs and said, "I want a Porg." So we bought her a Porg. She grabbed the lightsaber and twatted her brother across the head with it. And I thought, see, that's the Jedi Knight we
I'll beat him into it,
deserve.
Daddy. I'll beat him into it. He'll like it
So
eventually.
I thought, what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing tomorrow? My son couldn't give a fuck. We've got Caravan of Courage to watch. We've got Battle for Endor to watch. I've got my lightsaber out. She's got her lightsaber. We're going into town to do our hour exercise, plus I need to buy a printer. And she wants to take the lightsabers out as well. And I thought, well, that's one way of keeping people at arm's length via social distancing. It's just to wave a lightsaber around.
Out of melee range.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. So it'll be Stormtrooper beer in the afternoon while watching Endor fucking Ewok films with my daughter. And hopefully, if I can pry her away from it, we're going to watch The Mandalorian from episode 1 to 8 and see how she likes it.
Cool.
Outstanding. Mark, what are you doing? What's your Star Wars memory? What are you up to?
So I've got, officially speaking, I've got one Star Wars memory that's actually two.
Yeah.
Is that, as you know, I'm a wargamer.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, Matt. Don't leave me alone. So I have a lot of good memories around going to tournaments and events playing X-Wing, which is a miniatures game based on Star Wars, with people randomly delivering stupid quotes and making bad jokes and just generally having a good time and being good sports. I also, for about a year or so, did something called Ludo Sport when I was working up in London, which is basically lightsaber combat. And again, good friends from that. I don't do it anymore, but I still stay in touch with a bunch of them, and they're all really good people. So, not just a direct Star Wars, but associated with it, from finding other fans and friends through it that have given me good memories from that. In terms of tomorrow, I will probably, I think tomorrow evening, be doing a rewatch of Series 7 of the Clone Wars, waiting for, obviously, Friday.
Outstanding. Sounds like a good plan. Jojo.
Jojo? Okay.
He's going to be licking his wounds after this session tonight.
No,
Or
no,
Jon Jo.
I'm not. After Matt's perfect rebuttal, I can't say anything else now, so I'm done on that.
Best way to get somebody is to
He
start
took
breaking
10
down.
emotional damage.
No,
Start
it was
crying
more
in
than
front
10.
of
I
them.
don't think I'm ever going to recover.
Sorry.
No,
It's aggravated damage.
10v10.
I'll say very quickly. One of my favourite Star Wars memories was one Christmas when it was actually the first time I watched all three Star Wars films. They were on ITV. New Hope was on Boxing Day. Empire Strikes Back was on the next day, and then obviously went on like that. I remember sitting down watching the films, and I'd obviously known about Star Wars. I must be about 6 or 7 when these were on, and I was hooked. It obviously just started, and I'm sitting down, and then obviously 20 minutes in, the first advert break comes up, and I don't know, it's just this bit of excitement. As a kid, I'm like, no, come on, I want it back on now, and it was like as soon as it finished, I can't remember if it might have been my cousin said, oh, did you enjoy that? I went, yeah. And he went, oh, next one's on tomorrow. He went, yeah. He went, you're gonna have to, get a bed early, and because evil cousin that he must have been. He said, yeah, you got to go to bed early and be up nice and early for the next one tomorrow. And I just shot through them, and I absolutely loved them. And it kind of gives me, I think it gives me a bit of a Christmassy feeling, and I do watch Star Wars pretty much every Christmas now because of that. In terms of tomorrow for Star Wars Day, I will be watching the first part of the documentary series for Mandalorian, which is dropping on Disney Plus.
Before you finish the
before you
series.
watch-
No, I'm going to watch episode 8 after this podcast.
Good.
Good.
And then I shall then be sitting down to watch The Empire Strikes Back in all its glory, and that will be pretty much my Star Wars day.
Outstanding.
But Revenge of the Fifth, hopefully, my plan is, because I have said I would do a rewatch. Revenge of the Fifth, I'm planning to rewatch the prequel trilogy.
You should, if you want to watch a documentary, you should watch I Am Your Father. I think it's called I Am Your Father. Yeah.
I've seen that. That is a
David Price.
great.
Really,
That's a
it's
great
quite
documentary.
quite
Very
emotional.
upsetting.
Yeah, quite emotional. If you
yeah,
get a chance, watch that. David Price, for those who don't know, obviously was the guy who did the body double for Darth Vader, but got unceremoniously dumped after there was a bit of the documentary talks about it, but there's a bit of a misunderstanding. And he gets dumped after in Jedi. I think they get rid of him and stuff.
Wasn't he also banned from a bunch of conventions?
Yeah, he got banned.
Yeah,
as well.
Lucasfilm banned him from any official Star Wars celebrations.
Yeah. It's a
And
legend
the
as well.
L376, sorry, as well. I'm going to be watching.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go so I can let Gary go last. My favorite Star Wars memory is I did Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago when it came to the UK, and they built a bunch of droids. Sorry, not droids. What's the word? Little remote control flying
Drones.
drones. There we go. Thank you. They did drones of the ships, and what they then did was they rebuilt the Death Star and recreated the scene where Luke shoots using all of these. So we all stood on the sides and they flew them, and they had fucking X-Wings everywhere, and they all recreated word for word perfectly that scene. And there was something so fantastically surreal about that. And there's all these people watching these little drones that are only about a foot long over this giant monstrous set, and it was just, what a moment. So that's one of my favorite Star Wars memories. That whole convention was just fantastic. Americans are just so bloody aggressively nice. One of them tried to get me to move in with her because I was dressed like an Ewok. It was a whole thing. No, it was the weirdest thing. And then tomorrow, not too interesting. I might do a Mandalorian rewatch. I might try the first episode of season 7 of Clone Wars to see if I'm emotionally ready for it yet. And I'm sewing masks for the NHS. So tomorrow I'll be releasing 3 Star Wars designs where all the profits going towards those NHS masks. So that's going to be my plan.
Yeah, very good.
Put me down for one.
Outstanding. Yeah, Gary, what's your memory? What's your plans?
Right. I have many Star Wars memories, like so many, like uncountable and stuff. It's just sort of Star Wars was a family event. Bar my poor mother, who isn't a nerd in any way, shape, or form, but just sort of tagged along anyway because she didn't want to be left out. But my sort of a resonating one, apart from my first ever sort of experience of Star Wars, was at Christmas, and I would have been, let's see, 5 or 6. Not, you know, would I have been 5 or 6? Yeah, pretty young. And I came in, and there was a big box, and I was just like, I had no idea sort of what it is. I think I'd asked Santa for like a sand crawler from like one of the sand crawlers, but they didn't do sand crawlers, I don't think, at the time, the toys. And I opened up this big box, and it was an Ewok village, and I got this Ewok village, and the one thing, the Ewok village was amazing. You know, I loved the Ewok village, but for some reason, and I have no idea why, there was a it was a bantha, or not the bantha. No, what's the not bantha? Banthas are the thing. Not Rancor. What's the snow monsters?
Tauntaun?
No, not Tauntaun. Wampa. Yeah. Wampa. There was a Wampa in there, in the box, just there. Just like in the Ewok village, completely two different worlds. But I opened it up and it was closed and stuff, so it was obviously a mistake. But there was a Wampa in my Ewok village, so I got an Ewok village and I got this Wampa and a free Wampa. Completely, you know, in my mind, it made perfect sense. But you know, just sort of, you know, if you think back on it, not. And
we were flexible when we were kids.
Yeah, and it just sort of like, it was amazing, and I was just like, I love that Ewok village, and I just sort of like. And my free Wampa and stuff, who hung around the village all the time. Whenever the village came out, the Wampa was there as well, and you know, that was just a big thing for me.
The important question though is, did you name the Wampa?
No, actually, I don't think it did.
Well, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I did feed my Yoda to my Rancor though, and he got jammed. He got jammed in the Rancor's mouth. My dad had to sort of kind of dislodge him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and tomorrow and Friday, I might play some Star Wars games. I might, you know, stream some Star Wars games or something like that, and I think watch Rogue One again. Jon Jo.
Very good.
I can't say anything. Stop doing this to me.
Just like to hurt yourself, do you?
Yeah, so that's probably what it is and stuff. So that's if my boss doesn't give me something to do. He's got a habit of sort of sending me, because I'm working from home. It's just like, you know, all time is work time now. So it's just like, you know, it's 5:15 in the evening, and an email. Do you think we can do this? Which means, can you do this now? So it's like, all right, okay.
I'll be expecting you to come back to me within half an hour.
Yeah. It's like I did on Friday. It's like, so do you think we can do this? All right, I'll do something for you at the weekend and send it over. So, but yeah. So that's it. So that's my
boundaries.
Thing. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah. I don't mind as long as I get a nice big pay rise out of it. I don't give a shit, so it's fine. So I got a new job title, so hopefully the pay rise will come with it soon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that about a year and a half ago. I never got the pay rise to go with it.
Yeah,
good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, that was good. Slightly emotional, unexpectedly emotional. I don't know why. It suddenly just kicked in, but yeah. So yes, thank you very much for everybody who watched and who's watched and joined in. Mainly Robert Nicholson. Thank you for your input, sir. So yeah, hopefully this will be up online tomorrow for Star Wars Day to download. So it'll be on the regular podcast sites like Spotify, iTunes, and we will be back next week, possibly in the same day. Otherwise, you'll find out. We'll let you know. We keep these sort of things a bit loose. So yeah. So anyway,
flexible. We're flexible.
Yeah, we're flexible. So good night,
lazy
everybody.
is what they mean.
Yes, lazy.
Flexible.
We're all stuck indoors, so got to find something to do.
Yeah.
Let's have power.
Yes. So yes, thank you very much, everybody. I've been Matt Geary, and with me we've had Peter Ray Elson.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We've had Laura Benson.
May the 4th be with you, everyone.
Mark Canty.
Been nice knowing you.
Josh Varney.
Oh,
And Jon Jo Cosgrove.
And yeah, everyone, hope you have a lovely day tomorrow.
See you all. Bye.
Bye.